talk about why do you need to understand the musical layers to play Brazilian music, and what are musical layers. Um, when you play different, when you hear a music, a popular music with different instruments, each instrument has can have a different role in music. And this subject, I thought it was obvious for everybody, but I realized that it's a very important subject for students, because sometimes in a beginner student or in a intermediate student, this subject it's not clear, or some of the of the details are not, they are all mixed. I'm sorry for for the words, but what are, I would ask you, you can stop the video to try to ask, what are the main elements in music? I'm gonna give you a minute to answer. Well, I would talk that you have melody, harmony, and rhythm. But in popular music we can think that are some developments of these three elements. For example, in terms of harmony, in terms of melody, first we can have secondary melodies that happen in a song. In terms of harmony, you can have bass, the bass, that is, it's an instrument, bass lines that are very important, and they often define or differentiate one style from another one. In the rhythm section, rhythm part, it's connected to these two first elements, but we have also the groove. We can have a groove for popular music. It's very common to have. So many people are not aware of these elements and how they behave, and so they don't know how to build an arrangement, because they don't separate this in mind. For example, I was playing a samba, a very rhythmic samba. I was playing this. Playing this. What do I have here? I have a melody, this is the melody, the part most of the people is gonna hear first. Alright, this is the main difference between one song and another, the melody. Alright, but for example, we can have a secondary melody. So the secondary melody often comes when the melody rests. Alright, so the melody rests in two different situations: when I stop to play it, or when I stop in a longer note. So my melody stopped, and I took the time of the resting note, the longer note, to do another secondary melody. And this is very important in Brazilian music, or even in any popular music. But when you are playing the piano, or you're playing a melodical instrument or whatever you are playing in Brazilian music, it's interesting to realize, because you're gonna realize the space to put your ideas if you are not the soloist in that moment, for example. All right. I was talking about harmony that I was playing here. This is a simple part of the chord, but joining with the bass, or sometimes so these chords support this melody, and the chords gives the basis to the melody, happen. All right. And the bass, it's the note that gives the meaning to the chord, gives the name to the chord. So it's very important. And in Brazilian music, when besides the bass note, in different styles you can have different kinds of bass lines. For example, if I was playing these two chords in a Northeast Brazilian music, I would change my rhythmic behavior and I would create a different line for the left hand. If I was playing, for example, a frevo, so each style, if it was a choro, the bass line, it's a very important element in Brazilian music. When playing Brazilian music, you're gonna the bass line can differentiate a style easily. You can find the lines, for example, of a samba. So the bass is part of the harmony, but don't think the bass like the harmony. It has life, all right. So it's very important to differentiate the bass line from the harmony. And what else could we talk about? Let's talk about rhythm. And rhythm, it's very important in all layers of the of music. Because, for example, if you're playing a samba, you're gonna have one rhythmic way that to behave yourself to sound inside samba. For example, hear this melody. Is a typical melody of samba because it's using syncopations and rhythms that has to be with samba. For example, if we were playing the same chords in a choro, more or less like that, all right. If I was playing if I would play a frevo with this same chords, And so the rhythm of the melody, it's very important to sound inside one or another Brazilian style. Um, the same thing happens with the rhythm of the harmony. For example, in choro it's common we hear the harmony during the syncopations. And for example, in Baião we could hear the harmony. Or for example, this is short. We often hear the harmony in a rhythmic behavior that is inside that style. Alright? So the rhythm is acting inside the harmony also. But the rhythm is so important that it has one layer to itself. And this layer is very important to understand if you are making some arrangement in Brazilian music, if you are playing the piano solo, if you are building some improvise over a song. Let me see a comment here. Hey Dave Sabag, welcome man. And so, like I was saying, the rhythm is very important and has its layer, and so you can find. I think all musicians have to understand how the rhythmic layers work, and there is one basis that I think it's essential to all of you to understand. And what is that? In rhythm, you can be talking about samba that's just played by the pandeiro, or you can be talking about a escola de samba. It's translating a school of samba that has lots and lots, hundreds of people playing percussion. That is some basic function that I think that's essential to all of you understand. And the percussion, when we think the basis of it, we think the higher part, the lower part, the subdivision. We can talk about not part but layer, higher layer, lower layer, and subdivision layer. And we can also find in music some effects layer. Alright? But one very essential thing to the rhythm happens in music. It's the counterpoint between the lower and the higher layer. They create some contrast that gives the life of the rhythm. And sometimes the subdivision happens also to create some swing, to give the stability of the other instruments. But the counterpoint between the lower and the higher, it's essential. And when you hear Brazilian music or you hear the music of any style, it's very important to first recognize what is the low and the higher part. I can show, for example, in pop music, for example, the lower part of the rhythm, it's often played by if you have a drum, it's often played by the bass drum. Alright? In samba, for example, you would find this lower layer in the surdo, that's it's a bass drum but played just for one person. In forró, for example, you're gonna find the lower layer in the zabumba. That it's an instrument that has one lower part and a higher part. You have two different sticks to play each of them, but you're gonna play the zabumba and hear boom boom. This kind of sound belongs to the lower rhythm layer of any styles. For example, if you are playing choro, this lower rhythmic layer is gonna happen on the pandeiro. You are playing. You are not hearing the subdivisions of the pandeiro, but so these rhythmic layers is very present in the different contexts of popular music. So always try to recognize it when you are hearing, alright? So you have, in a lot of cases, the contrast between the lower and the higher. For example, in, like I was saying, showing in samba, for example, you have this lower layer, and you have the higher layer played by the tambourine. So you have this contrast. For example, if you are playing the baião, for example, or this example is better than the other. The other I'm gonna return to it. All right. So this is the contrast between the lower and the higher. In frevo, for example, so you have the bass drum like the samba. The higher layer is often played by the snare drum. All right. Or sometimes you can play in the edge of the snare drum, or you can play with brushes, but it's a higher sound. And some you create this contrast between, when we do body percussion, we can use claps to do this higher part of the percussion, and use the chest to do the lower. So you can already create contrast. I've made some lives about the body percussion to understand the Brazilian rhythms. You can see there this important contrast. All right. So here this is the relationship in the percussion part, the rhythmic part, that it's essential to know about every style that you play. All right. And so the last of them would be the subdivision part. Subdivision, if we would play in drums, it's often played by the hi-hat, and so in a lot of styles you're gonna hear some all the notes. For example, in samba you're gonna hear all the 16 notes. In samba, in traditional samba, you're gonna hear the subdivision played by the shaker. It's guiding. It's and subdivision besides creates swing to the percussion. It helps the musicians to play together. They don't lose themselves. They don't run and don't play too slow. This helps so much. So you're gonna find in the shaker. Sometimes you're gonna find this in the hi-hat, or there is one, this the cymbal, I forgot the name, the hide cymbal. So it has it has this function of creating, it's like a wall of subdivisions. It's like a place where the machine runs. It's like the I think the trails of the train. All right, the subdivision has this importance. And also some styles you don't hear all the subdivisions, but can sound, we can hear one and another. For example, if you play a samba in a smaller group, sometimes you're gonna hear played by the shaker. You're gonna hear the first and the last 16th note of a tempo, of a beat. If you're playing forró like I showed, so in this case I'm using just the upbeat to show the subdivision, to use the subdivision instrument. And sometimes the subdivision instrument, it's very essential we hear that style, and sometimes it doesn't. When it's very essential, I used to try to put on my place, but in not every style this is important. The most important relation between in the percussion part, like I told you, it's the relationship between the relationship between the lower and the higher part. And there is one more that I think that's very interesting, that it's the effects layer. And what would be the effects layer? There are different noises you can do to create some climbs, some environments. And for example, the drums can use, for example, the cymbals. For example, so this is as an effect that can be used in a rhythmic way also, but it's to show, for example, in this case, to show the different groups of measures, of bars, and the effects part can be made of noises also. And noises can be anything that is not, it's non-musical elements, but they create some context. Yesterday I was hearing some song with my student Ernest Yudum, and he showed me one Afro-Cuban music, and when I heard it, there was people talking together with the music. It could seem, it seemed like a party happened when these people talked with each other. And this is more than the show. The recording was not live, so these voices were being used to create some effect, to create some sensation in the audience. Sometimes you can whistle, sometimes you can do just a noise, and so this is the effect. So I think this, when you understand this and you can understand the different roles of the instruments inside these layers, you're gonna start understanding how to behave yourself in music. If you are playing the piano, I need to have, for example, the relation between low and higher. but I can create swing with the subdivision. And so I need a melody. So I have here rhythm, I have harmony happening, but I used the rhythm of the harmony to do this subdivision element. Note that it's almost mechanical, but when I join with the relationship between the higher and lower part, they create life. Giving this higher and lower notes some line, some melody, and so I'm creating the bass line. How the elements move each other and create some life, some swing, and when you are doing some arrangement, you are doing some improvise at all the instruments. You have to know the whole role of your instrument. When I'm doing piano solo, I try to create a little bit of all these elements. All right. So I create in the audience an illusion that everything is happening at the same time. Because when we play some ostinato, for who doesn't know, ostinato is a repeated idea. Can be a rhythmic ostinato, for example. When I play a little bit of this rhythmic ostinato, people will feel that I'm continuing playing, and so I can do different things. For example, so I change by the function of my hands, but people are still feeling this. So this, how I was saying before, I invite you to hear music and exercise yourself to recognize these different layers of a rhythm. Try to recognize what instruments are doing the melody, secondary melody or counter melody, the harmony, the bass line, and the rhythmic layers that are higher rhythmic layer, lower, subdivision, and effects. When you realize this, you're gonna be more aware of how the instruments behave itself in the different styles, and how you could behave yourself when you're playing with another musicians or when you're playing some song. Alright? So I hope you have enjoyed this live. It's very important and essential to learn Brazilian music, this, and try to practice and hear different recordings, recognizing, and you can send me messages, can send me the recording also. I'm gonna have pleasure to help you in this process of discovering and understanding music deeply. Alright, so that's it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your audience, David Sabag. Thanks very much for your audience, for your message during the live. And so see you tomorrow for more lives and quick tips about the Brazilian accent improvisation. Bye bye and thanks.